Freeman for average. He just took a 1 RBI lead over Pete Alonso, and he's 2 behind Schwarber for the home runs. But, do you know when the last time a National League player won a Triple Crown?
Was it Rico Cardi?
No.
The big boy with the big bat?
Rico never win Triple Crown.
Oh, okay. Who was it?
It was Joe Ducky Medwick for the Cardinals in 1937.
Wow.
So when you start talking about where Goldschmidt is right now, it's pretty, and there have been a few. Cabrera won one, I think, in 2012, and then it goes back to Yastrzemski and Frank Robinson in 66 and 67. But, that's a long time, 85 years since anybody's done it. So we'll see what happens. I hate the Cardinals, but it's always interesting to watch.
Yeah, that's true. And speaking of the Cardinals, Pujols hit another one this week.
He did.
So he's 1 behind A-Rod and 5 out of 700. And I'd like to see him get it. I hope he gets it. So.
Yep. Hey, it's going to come down to the wire, just like the last time I was here. I think we're going to see 700 inevitably this season. It's just a matter of how many games away from the end of the season it happens.
Yeah,
I'm rooting for it just because I'd like Pujols to leave. I mean, he's not what he used to be, but I'd hate to see him come back with
to hit 1 home run.
698 just to sit around on the end of the bench.
And hit 2 home runs.
It'd be nice to have him leave it in style.
Yep, I agree. Speaking of leaving in style, we had that this weekend or this week up in Flushing Meadows. We had Serena take her farewell tour of the new U.S. Open. Is she done?
She is done, but when you guys said she was going to lose last Wednesday, I told you she wasn't, and she didn't. It might have been Friday. It might have been Friday, but yeah, I think she is officially done.
I think so too. She was very graceful leaving the court. Very gracious to the interviewer.
So tell me this, both of you, if she pulls a Brett Favre or a Tom Brady or something else and says, I changed my mind, I still want to play, do you hold that against her? Or do you realize that, hey, she's running out of time, go for it while you can?
I think she's done. I think there are just too many good younger players that are there. She's 40, 41 now.
I think 41.
Yeah, and man, that's tough. Mom, she wants to be another baby. She's not retiring, she's evolving into something else. So I wish her well. I just wish they'd stop talking about it. She's out of the tournament now. Let's talk about who's left in the tournament, not about, if Serena was still in. She's not. Let's just move on. Move on. And I don't know who's going to win. This girl, Garcia, this French girl, Garcia, Caroline Garcia, watched her last night get into the semis. She's pretty strong. She beat Coco Gauff last night. If I had to pick somebody right now, I'd go with Garcia on the women's side. Boy, Ruud is running through the men's side, although I've watched him play a couple times. Pretty strong, good serve. The guy that beat Kyrgios last night is pretty strong as well. So, to my point, who's going to watch it? I mean, none of the big three in there. Federer's gone. Djokovic wasn't even allowed to play. Nadal is gone. Medvedev is gone. Does anybody really care who's going to win the U.S. Open?
That's a great point and great question because, to answer your question, Robert, I believe absence makes the heart grow fonder, as the saying goes. And I think that as we come into the off season for tennis, I think Serena is going to get closer to that start date as we get to the Australian Open this winter and decide that she actually wants to still continue to play.
Wow.
So I think she's going to come back. I don't see any reason why she will not. I know that she's, trying to make her rounds and say goodbye and evolve into a new Serena. However, that's who she is. And it's hard to remove yourself from an identity that you have grown into.
Your entire life.
Yes.
Your entire life. So at the end of the day, we think people like Tiger can be gone for 7-8 months and then just show up in Scotland and kick everybody's butt across the golf course.
Which he didn't.
Which he didn't, but we still drink the Kool-Aid and make us think that he can, and we'll probably drink that same Kool-Aid next year.
The Serena Kool-Aid.
So that's my question: is if Serena decides I just want to play the U.S. Open, I'm focusing on Flushing Meadows. Who knows?
Well, she even said in her interview, but she said I needed to start playing earlier because she wasn't in the shape that she needed to be in.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think even more so in tennis than in anything else. It's hard. It's hard to practice at that level unless you're in a match. I think
Swimming and tennis requires a lot of practice.
A lot of practice. And I mean, golf does too. But you can play golf on your own. You're not playing against somebody. It's easier to play golf by yourself and learn what you're doing as opposed to playing tennis and hitting up against the wall or even against practice partners. Practice partners aren't these guys and women that are at the top of the game and playing that well on the WTA. So,
I'm going with Sinner.
Center.
I'm going with Sinner. There's a guy named Sinner, and
So you'd rather play with the Sinners than cry with the Saints?
well, I've been hanging out with him for a
like
while.
that.
I'm the first time I'm doubling down and taking one, and I'm going to go with Sabalenka.
Sabalenka. She won today, didn't she?
I love that name.
That is a cool name. But I still wish Danielle Collins was in it. It's just instead of anybody else. She was just fun to look at. She was high energy. I like to watch her play. So, U.S. Open, we've got the finals. Women's finals are Saturday, I think, and the men's finals are Sunday. So we'll report on the U.S. Open next week. Maybe we'll have our buddy William Hatton, our tennis expert, call in next Wednesday and give us his recap of what he thought happened at Flushing Meadows. Really cool place, Flushing Meadows, because it's right next to Citi Field. And what the new Mets Stadium is?
Correct.
It's right there by LaGuardia.
Underneath LaGuardia. Have you ever taken off above it?
Many times, yeah. Yeah, many times.
Nothing like that. The first time you look out the window and you go, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
right there.
All right, we're going to cut. Have we got anything else to say about the U.S. Open? We're going to cut this a little short and go into our second segment. But first, we're going to have Birthday Girl sit in Ian's chair for a second. Bailey, Bailey, Bailey. So Bailey, our favorite waitress here at Miller's Ale House, today is celebrating her 22nd birthday.
The double deuce.
Double
Yes.
deuce. That's my favorite number, by the way, 2 and 22.
I'm your favorite server?
Absolutely.
Oh, that
You're the
makes me
only
feel
one-
good.
You're the only one that can hear it.
She can't hear anything, but by God, she's on your side, Chuck.
Giddy up. There you go. So tell us, what is going on at Miller's these days?
Well, it's my birthday.
We know that. Somebody sent Bailey $200 today that she didn't know.
I have no idea who he was. He sent me $200.
But so you're going to take me and Robert out to dinner on that?
If you're that person who sent her the $200, please go to the middle of the desert and don't bother her.
Don't bother her. Do not show up at Miller's Ale House with a dozen roses or anything. Bailey doesn't like roses. She's a petunia type of girl. So
I like a sunflower type of girl.
Oh,
Now they're bringing
sunflower.
sunflowers.
Now they're
You
bringing
can't
flowers.
let the millions and the masses know that, Bailey.
Bailey likes sunflowers. I'll tell Kevin, my son. So tell us what's going on at Bailey's. Any new drinks? Any new specials?
Oh, we do have a new beer called Mango Cart. It's really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Sounds up my wife's alley.
It is a feminine drink, but I did sell it to a man outside, so we're goes both
Not
ways.
judging.
Don't judge. Not that there's anything wrong with that. So,
But it is a very good drink. But it's very low in ABV, so it's very light.
Gotcha.
Good.
very light. Anything new food-wise? What's your favorite thing on the menu here? Did I ask you that before?
They just asked me that a second ago. My favorite is the Nashville hot chicken sandwich.
Nashville hot chicken sandwich.
Just because it's spicy and it has a little bit of a sweetness to it because of the coleslaw.
Yeah.
But tomorrow is Thursday, so it's our prime rib night, so that's my other favorite, but we only have that on Thursdays.
So make sure you come out tomorrow night at Miller's Ale House for a prime rib and to see Bailey and Sean. If Sean's working tomorrow night. Who
Sean's
knows?
always working.
Sean is always working.
Sean is the man.
Sean's the guy who lives in the camper behind the store.
It's
There
not a
you
store,
go.
it's a restaurant, but yes. Yeah.
Sean is the man who's holding everybody down.
Well,
He's
Bailey,
the man.
happy birthday to you, sweetheart.
Thank
and
you.
We're happy to be with you today. And
Safe travels on your weekend getaway.
Yep, and I'll hook you up with Kevin.
Yeah, I'm going to go on a date with his son.
My son doesn't know it yet, but he needs to. Absolutely, yeah.
Well, thank y'all for having me.
You bet. Always welcome. Thanks. We get Ian back in here, and we're going to go over some football stuff from last weekend. Adam, the intern, do we know how Rusty did? Do we have any clue what Rusty did over the weekend?
I'm not sure anybody understood what Rusty said during some of his picks, but, outside that.
They were horrible. They're terrible. They're horrible. They stink. They can't win anything. They're horrible. They stink. However, just between Robert and I will have to say that Robert got the better of me in week one. He went 4-3 in what we determined you went.
Yeah, I want a couple more than you, but I just want to let the audience know I got too cute on that Alabama game. I said they would cover by halftime, but took Utah State. Had I just gone with what I knew to be, the lead would be pretty big already. But
Yeah,
it's
you,
okay.
you thought they would be
We're-
covering by halftime, but Utah would get a garbage touchdown.
Correct,
to
and it
come
turned
back.
out that Saban defense isn't allowing garbage anything.
Yeah. So we'll get to our picks for this coming week here in very shortly. But we'll talk a little bit about what happened this weekend. I have seen this week that I actually saw it today that ESPN puts its worst 10 teams out there every week. You know who was in that bottom 10?
Worst 10 teams for college football?
Yeah. Oregon was in that bottom 10.
Obviously they're not as bad as some schools that we could name, but when you show up like that, that's a whole fan base and conference that's pretty sad.
Or when you don't show up like that.
There you go.
So yeah, the Pac-12 is in big time trouble after Utah took it on the chin from the Gators, and it was pretty brutal down there in Gainesville. But it was a fun game. That was probably my most fun game of the weekend.
Yeah, that was the game in the weekend. I tell you what, Saturday night, that was the game to watch. Notre Dame, Ohio State. Yes, highly touted matchup.
Yeah.
That just,
Didn't materialize.
yeah, it did not deliver. Notre Dame, until they join a conference, I think Notre Dame's going to struggle to compete at the highest level that it takes to win a national championship.
They are. And I just want to say this. I don't know everything about academic standards, but I believe theirs are maybe just a smidge too high for a good football team. There's definitely a line of demarcation for how many people can come to your school and how many people can't come to your school. And I think Notre Dame's a little too high on that. Just saying.
Well, we'll have to talk about that. Yeah. What is Adam here? He's got Rusty's picks. Rusty was 4-3 as well. So how does it feel to be tied with Rusty? I feel horrible.
Better
being
than two
games
behind him.
Rusty. Yeah. So that's not good. But again, I took a couple of flyers. I did get one underdog, right? I did get the Florida game over Utah. And I tell you what, Georgia Tech and Clemson, I was debating that for a long time, whether they were going to cover or not. But
It was an interesting game for the first
it was an
20
interesting
minutes.
game. So
It
Clemson,
was.
is Clemson worse that we think? Are they the most overrated team in the top 25?
I don't think you can tell because you saw the 10-7 game last year. They started their season against Georgia.
Against
and
Georgia.
We thought they were a pretty good team, especially after Georgia went undefeated, through the regular season. I don't know.
I don't
know.
either. I don't either. DJU, and I'm just going to say that. I don't know how his name can be pronounced. Ungalala, well, there's no N in his last
Ugalele.
name. There's no N in his last name, so
Ukulele?
I need a vowel. Ukulele, that's close enough for me. Just DJU. But there were some great college football games this weekend. Let's talk a little bit about Appalachian State and North Carolina.
Good Lord.
Heavens,
6 touchdowns?
Heavens to merge.
6 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
40 points and you lose. And you give up 40 points in the fourth quarter and you win.
So-
how can that be?
So why did they lose, Chuck?
Why did they lose?
Well, they went for 2 and didn't
Because
get it,
North
and then they
Carolina-
went for 2 and didn't get it, and they lost by 2 points.
Well,
Something tells me that
They should have won on the first one. When the receiver just turned around and started backpedaling instead of running his route. If he'd have done that, he'd have caught the ball game over. And also, did you watch that game at all?
I did.
So North Carolina, why do you run back that onside kick attempt? All you got to do is fall down on it.
fall on
Get it and lay on the ground, and the ball game's over, and you run it out.
Dansby.
Yeah, and you win whatever it was, 61 to 50, whatever. But that's a lot of points. Over 1,300 yards of offense. It was a crazy game. It tells me North Carolina, weren't they in the top 25 last week?
They were.
They don't belong there.
You're correct.
Also, one of the most entertaining productions of the weekend as well. If you paid attention to the game, Mac Brown got his head coaching start at App State. Good old North Carolina boy, which is why he's back home, North Carolina, tying up his career. Started off there at App State in the 1970s and had that 1970 hairdo and all those sock photos that they were showing.
Yeah.
And they the production team at ESPN took it over the top by taking Mac Brown's hair and putting on each of the sideline reporters and each of the reporters covering the game. It was absolutely phenomenal to watch and absolutely
funny.
just great to see. And I'm just glad to see that we have some humor in college football.
Humor in college football is a necessary thing, and that's not a bad thing.
So after a game like that, who's scheduling App State? Is Clemson scheduling them? Ohio State scheduling them? Michigan?
Michigan doesn't want him.
No, correct. They've already gone to the big house and taken care of it before. But you know what I'm saying? There's only how many times are you going to drink the Kool-Aid? You've seen this team show up at big stadiums with everything marked against them, and they play. They play really hard.
They're a good ball club.
They
But,
are.
again, they also gave up 61 points. So they've got issues on defense as well. So that's a lot of points to give up when you're losing the ball game.
It is. And, but to both of y'all's point, that's just the margin of error is getting much smaller between, your Power 5 schools and your non-Power 5 schools. And you know what? Thank God they came out with that information this weekend, did the news release this weekend that I hope you all saw. 12 teams in the NCAA playoff in 2026.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. Robert is.
Although I did have a close friend, Mike Reeves, text me after the Georgia game, and he said, "So if that's the 11th best team in the nation, do we really
want
need
them in the
12?
playoffs?"
Do we really
Exactly.
need 12 teams?" It's a pretty valid point, but
My whole take on the 12 teams is it's going to wind up with the same 4 in the Final Four. We're just throwing in a couple of more weeks of games.
You are.
And if they turn them into bowl games that really don't matter, I have no trouble with it. But if they're going to still continue to play the Tax Slayer Bowl where half the seniors don't want to play because they're going to ruin their chance of playing the NFL, and I'm done with it. I'm tired of the bowl games. I wish they'd go back to the Rose, the Orange, what's the other two?
Fiesta.
The sugar, and whatever the other big one is.
Fiesta,
The Cotton Bowl.
Rose.
Cotton Bowl, that's the one. Back when it used to be those 4, that's when bowl games meant something. Now that you got 600 bowl games, they really don't mean anything. But if they use this other 8 games, is that what will come out of it?
The first 4 will get a bye. There's 3 extra games.
So seven or
so-
8 games.
Correct.
Yeah.
And those will all be home games at the higher seed
at the
stadium.
higher seeds, yeah. So it's the 6 top teams that win a division, right? So like if Pac-12's winner is 5-5 or 6-6 or whatever it is,
Which it could be.
and it could be that they may not get in.
So my question for you guys is this. I predicted last week, go back and check the tape,
Check the tape.
that Oregon and Utah would both be crying back to the left coast. So at this point in time, what do we have to worry about? If Southern Cal loses a game, is the Pac out of any January conversations?
Any chance of playing in the final?
Because you have no strength of schedule anymore. You both lost, so
Yep.
it doesn't help.
I'm totally with you. As soon as USC loses a game this year, they're done. And the
Don't-
Pac-12 is done.
conference.
But
Playoff
don't-
hopes are gone.
Don't sleep on Arizona. Arizona's a pretty good ball club. I watched them play
yeah.
the other night. They're not a bad club.
Ferocious out in the desert. They are.
Yep. So
But-
Arizona's my sleeper behind USC. USC's
It's a
probably
super
the
sleeper
cream of the
behind
crop.
Kansas.
No, Kansas is still my super sleeper. We'll talk about them in a little bit.
Oh yeah, I saw
Yeah.
them on your picks.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about the long-term effect that the 12-team playoff format is going to truly have on college football. Just for a brief second, because as the talent pool is getting smaller and smaller with college football recruiting, thanks to NIL deals and schools that are able to provide more money for their recruits, how is this going to change and reshape the format of college football?
It's not. The same 4 are going to still wind up in the finals, and they'll be arguing about why the 13th team isn't in. I mean, it's a setup for the same thing that makes college football great. It's set up for argument and conversation and debate, and that's what makes college football the fantastic thing that it is.
It is, but I'm with Ian. I just I'm glad that there's a lot of games now. But at the end of the day, Chuck, I think you hit on the point of it's going to be the same 4 teams. North Carolina is not the elite ACC team that just went toe-to-toe with App State. It's a bottom feeder of the conference. So once you get outside of that top 8 teams possibly in the country, I think there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for?
Mediocre.
A lot of
Underwhelming.
a lot of underwhelming people that are about the same. So anything can happen on any given day.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, and this is what I love about it, is that the 12-team format is going to give those smaller schools an opportunity to come compete. You know, nobody back in 2007 thought Boise State was going to show up to the Fiesta Bowl and
Greatest game ever.
and take it
Top
to the
5.
Oklahoma Sooners. Yeah, absolutely. Top 5 for sure. And nobody could have predicted that. And it was one of the most fantastic finishes, one of the most fantastic bowl games you could have ever seen, and complete upset. And that's why we love sports, because of the underdog story that's always there.
So you had the Boise State, and then I think a couple of years after that, you had Hawaii was undefeated. Hawaii needs an invitation. So it's going to make some interesting games on some other campuses. The big teams are still going to have home field advantage, but when Boise State and maybe the future Hawaii comes knocking on your door, it could be interesting for the old fan base.
Yeah, I would say that was probably true. Well, what time? How are we doing on time? Okay, we're good. So, are there any other games that we want to talk about from this weekend that we have missed?
I just want to say once again, App State going for 2 twice, bad idea. Utah went for 2 with 12 seconds left in the third quarter, going for the tie against Florida. You know, if you follow the math, it's kind of like being a Jeopardy champion. You don't have to know every answer, but you have to know how to bet on Final Jeopardy. And you see people who are so smart at everything, and they're like, I don't know, I'll bet everything. It's not how you play the game. It's not how you're going to consistently win. And I wish somebody would teach some of these football coaches when to do it and when not to do it.
That would
It
be a
kills me.
fantastic thing. Yeah. I did want to mention the kicker from East Carolina. I felt so bad for him.
Oh.
This guy, all conference last year, blows an extra point to tie the game. They come back down, and he has a chance to win the game with 9 seconds left.
With a field goal.
And he pushes it right. And so I felt bad for him. But it's pretty good ball games. Pretty good ball games overall.
Pretty good ball games, but can we put NC State in the same category as UNC? Very underwhelming.
Very underwhelming.
Yeah, but they're still in the top 25. Again, such a shakeup this week. Florida moved from out of the top 25 all the way up to 12 based on their win of Utah. And Utah dropped, which is, again, my point for there's no reason to have polls before the season ever starts other than for the sake of argument, because that's the only reason they're there.
Absolutely. The only reason why Florida moved up so high was because everybody was so high on Utah before the season started.
Yeah.
Guess what? Everybody might be wrong.
Now on the other side of the coin for the ACC, Pitt showed up, and so did their fans for the first time
Dun, dun,
ever.
dun.
They actually filled up what used to be Heinz Field, sold out crowd, over 70,000 fans there for a Pitt game.
Well, how are they able to get so many people in the stands?
They gave away free pickles.
It's because they were playing West Virginia, the backyard rivalry.
Yeah.
So
The
a lot of West
Mountaineers.
Virginia folks probably rode up the road.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty good ride, though,
That's not
across
too far.
Pennsylvania.
That's not
No,
too far.
it's literally Morgantown and Pittsburgh are about
Hour and a half.
hour and a half away.
Oh, that far. Wow. Okay. I would have thought it was a lot further. So that's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
Pitt's hosting a pretty good team this week, or at least it's going to be a good game again in Tennessee. But we'll talk about that. Before we get on to our predictions of college football, Robert, give us one of our sponsors, would you?
Which one, Larry?
Doesn't matter.
Larry's going to put up something blocking my face. I want
Oh.
to make sure. Modern Image is a locally owned document.
So here we go, making picks again this week, Aaron. And we are Rusty. I got to tell you right now, you're at the top of the list, buddy. You're 4-3. You're in first place for our guest picks.
He's tied.
No, for guest picks.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
Rusty. Had you only won one game, you'd still be in the lead for guest picks.
Yeah,
I'm
so
just-
don't get too excited about it. But yeah, Rusty, you are in the lead, 4-3. But Ian is going to try to take that over, right, Ian?
Oh, there is no try. It's do or do not.
Oh, you gotta like that. He's
Yoda.
got that Robert attitude.
It's do or do not.
So we're going to start with probably what people think is the busiest or the best game of this coming weekend is Alabama laying 20 over the Longhorns of Texas at Austin. What do we think about this game?
I told you they'd be up 41 last week at halftime, and then mess that one up. We'll just say Bama this time.
Ian?
Texas isn't there.
So we have a big noon game here this coming weekend. This is the 10th matchup between Texas and Alabama, and only the third time ever that Texas is playing a number one team at home. So I don't know if that says that much about how bad the Big 12 has been or what used to be the Southwest Conference, but only the third time that they're ever hosting a number one program. In the last 9 matchups, though, Texas has the lead. They are 7-1-1 against the Crimson Tide. So, this coming weekend, I am really liking Alabama. Now with the cover, 20 points is a big margin, especially when you're on the road in an environment like Texas, and going against one of your former proteges like Steve Sarkisian,
Like Sark? Yeah.
who has left Alabama, took over that Texas program. And I think he's going to do phenomenal things with this Texas program, but I don't think he's going to be doing phenomenal things this weekend. I like Alabama covering with the 20 at Texas.
I kind of feel the same way. I watched a lot of, hey, Brent Rittersdorf in the audience, ladies and gentlemen. But we had a very, I watched an article where it said, when Alabama lost at Texas A&M last year, they struggled at Florida. They struggled at Tennessee. So maybe they don't need to cover on the road. Maybe they just need to win, and that's all they're really concerned about, which I thought was an odd take, and I don't agree with it. I think I got to go with you two guys, and I think Alabama's going to cover. I just think it's that year, and I think they've got that much going for them that they're going to have to see some big wins. And I think this is one of them. I think they clean out Texas.
I think, and I'll just say this as well. Alabama would win this game, I think, anyway. But the idea that Texas is coming to the SEC, I think Alabama really just wants to welcome them to the turmoil they have gotten themselves into.
All right, so 3 for Alabama on that game. Let's go to the second one. Wake is laying 13 at Vanderbilt. This is an interesting game because Vandy's putting up some points under the new coach, Clark Lee. He says he's taking them back to the top. I know Hartman's been cleared to play now. I don't know if he's going to play this week. Wake Forest's quarterback extraordinaire. But I got to tell you right now, I'm going to take Vandy in the points.
Ooh. I don't fault you for that. Wake is on the road this weekend going to Nashville or Nash Vegas, depending on how you're going to celebrate that weekend. And also, because Sam Hartman is coming back, the Vegas odds makers went ahead and moved up the line from 8 to 13. So, I want to be with you, Chuck, and say that Wake's not going to cover, but, where Wake is as a program versus Vanderbilt, Vandy just has not been able to retain or maintain any sort of success since James Franklin departed. And so, I'm taking Vandy with the points.
You taking Vandy plus the points?
Yeah, I'll take. I'm sorry. I'm taking Wake with the
Laying
points. Excuse me.
I was surprised by
13.
that one. I thought
Yeah.
you had led me down the road. And I'm with you. I'm taking Wake. If it was against any other SEC team, I probably would go the other way. The same way that we're talking about golfers and tennis players and how they need to practice or don't need to practice. Well, if somebody's just been reinstated, it's hard to move a college line 6 points. That's a pretty big move. I still think it's
That's only 5. But
it's
okay.
Wake all day.
Okay.
It's actually gone up.
Oh, yeah, from 8 to 13, I just know it's 5. I'm not be great at math, but I'm pretty good at 13 minus 8.
Man, I tell you.
All right, number 3 game on the week. Tennessee laying 6.5 at Pittsburgh. Tennessee laid it to Ball State. Pittsburgh slid by West Virginia. Who you got in this one, Ian?
All right, two different completely matchups between week one for these two opponents. Tennessee coming off a huge win this past weekend. And Pitt, as you said, just got by West Virginia. Now, that said, West Virginia, Pitt,
Not a bad team.
That's a big rivalry game, and West Virginia is a pretty darn good program. But it's a touchdown difference, and I'm gonna love me some Pitt football this weekend for covering the spread because, in all honesty, as petty as Pitt is and can be, check this out. They actually gave their allotment to Tennessee for the tickets to be sold by Tennessee in the 500 level of what used to be Heinz Field, Accenture Field. So, excuse me, Accenture Field. You know what?
Whatever
We're just
it
calling it. We're
Correct,
calling
the new field up there.
Yeah.
It's
New
an
field.
old field.
the new name to Heinz Field. But here's a stat that I want you guys to note and keep in mind is that Pitt is 21-7 when rushing over 100 yards. 20-7 when rushing over 100 yards under Narduzzi. And I think they're going to be able to not only rush over 100 yards, but also make that 21-7, make that record 21-7. And also, Slovis is coming back off a great week, and Slovis is going to, I believe, have a phenomenal week this week. It all comes down to the Pitt O-line, and that's really what really matters here. And if Tennessee can put that pressure on the Pitt O-line and get past and come out of Pittsburgh with a touchdown victory, and I just do not see that happening. I do like Tennessee to win, but I don't think they're going to cover the spread. So give me Pitt
Plus the points.
plus the points.
I'm going to touch on one thing that you just said, talking about last week's opponents. It's so very difficult at the beginning of a college football season to start extrapolating true information. Well, look, they've scored 50 points. Yeah, well, they played Sisters of the Mary the first week, and so who really knows until you get a few weeks into the whole thing? But I'm definitely rolling orange on this one. You telling me that the folks up in Pittsburgh were dumb enough to sell all their tickets to people who wear orange socks all the time tells me that they're going to have a few fans screaming for them as well. But I'll definitely take Tennessee giving up the 6.5.
I'll take Pittsburgh plus the 6.5. I think enough is Slovis done a good job in replacing Kenny Pickett up there. I think they got some offensive playmakers, and until Tennessee proves differently, they're still Tennessee. So I'll go with Pittsburgh plus the 6.5.
Well, they're still Tennessee, especially when they get to the SEC part of their schedule. But right now they're playing Pitt.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Florida laying 4.5 in the swamp against Kentucky. I'll go first. I'm going to go with the Gators. I know that Kentucky, I think they beat them last year in the swamp.
I know they've won one of the last couple games up
Yeah,
there.
and I think Billy Napier, after last Saturday night against Utah, has done a good job of getting Anthony Richardson and that offense ready. Defense looked pretty good as well. So I'm going to take the Gators laying the 4.5.
Yeah, give me the Gators too. Kentucky, Florida. This year, the way that Florida played this past weekend, I know that we can't really use
one
week
game,
one.
But the one game was impressive.
But it was a good team that they went against, so you can use a little bit of it.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I just really like Florida. I think Florida is going to be the only team that will be able to compete for the SEC East this year outside of Georgia or give Georgia any sort of competition. And even that competition, I don't think is going to be very much when it comes cocktail party time down in Jacksonville. But give me Florida this weekend. I like them over Kentucky. And, the Wildcats are going to have a rough time.
I'm with you. Kentucky's looking for these wins. They start talking in the offseason, this is our year. Tennessee, Florida, and Georgia, you better watch out. Well, prove it to me, and then maybe I'll pick you next year. But definitely going Florida right now.
All right, laying on Florida. So all three of us on Florida. All right. Put
take
this one
this
in.
one.
Put this one in for Ian. Penn State laying 24.5 at, and I know they're at home against Ohio, the Bobcats, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Definitely not on the road at
Ohio.
University of Ohio.
Well, come on now. UNC went to App State, so it could happen.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Penn State big. Penn State often. These are the games that get you thinking about Penn State football. After it's 64-0, Ian will be able to text all his buddies and talk some serious smack. So definitely going Penn State.
So, yes, I'm going to go Penn State all day long. Now, covering the points, that's going to be the problem. 24.5 is a big margin, especially for Penn State playing a MAC school at home, because historically, what Penn State loves to do with these home MAC matchups is play those underclassmen, get them the experience that they need. So when it comes time, it's next man up and next man in, and we're moving along. And I hope to see Drew Aller this coming weekend. But I love Penn State, but I do not believe Penn State is going to cover the 24.5.
He just hedged his bet, so he'll be happy no matter
He'll
what.
be happy no matter what. And along the same reasonings, I'm going with exactly what Ian said. It's another one of those trap games that you think you're going to blow them out, and you wound up struggling against a lower level team, but you get a lot of players some playing time. So I'm going to take the Bobcats at 24.5 as well.
Can I ask you just a half a question? Don't you have to have a good team to have a trap game?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, but I mean,
No.
Ohio,
For the most part.
Ohio, you think Ohio traveling to the center of Pennsylvania is going to be a trap game?
Is Pittsburgh the center? Or Penn State is, yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is.
yeah.
It is.
All right.
Center
All right.
County, baby.
BYU and Baylor. BYU laying 2.5 at home, 3.5 against Baylor. I'm going to go first. Give me the Baylor Bears. I think that they won the Big 12 last year, and they are a better team than what people give them credit for. And I think they're going to go in and smack the Mormons. I'd take them straight up, but I'll definitely take the 3.5 points.
What do you think, Ian?
Bears and the Cougs. I'm really excited to see BYU join the Big 12 here in the coming years. But this coming weekend, I think Baylor's going to be giving them a welcoming gift of a loss. I do not like BYU with a 3.5. I like Baylor. Baylor's, as Chuck mentioned, is coming back off the Big 12 championship, and I like them against the Cougars this weekend. And give me the Bears all day long. So give me the Bears.
Plus the 3.5.
Plus 3.5.
Yeah, I definitely took Baylor before you guys started talking, but I am switching over to BYU because you guys are way too good on those. Baylor's a really good game. I think this is actually the best game of the week. Baylor's not super, but they're in the conversation for January festivities or late December festivities. And then you look at BYU, nobody ever knows what's going on at BYU unless there's a Jim McMahon or a Steve Young. And, once that happens, I think they put up 50 last week. It's tough to go to Utah. Baylor has an elevation of like 12 feet, and they're going to
I think
be
it's 11.5.
11.5 feet. They're going to be going to Utah. They're going to be at about 7,000 feet. So when you see in the third quarter them huffing on oxygen, just remember, go Mormons.
You're taking BYU laying the
I
points.
changed my pick.
Okay. All right. What are you looking at, Baylor? Oh, no. Baylor. Okay. So in our last game in the College Super 7, we have West Virginia, the aforementioned team that took it on the chin from the Panthers, laying 13 at home against Kansas.
Woo!
Kansas. Give me Kansas. Mainly because they're my sleeper in the Big 12, and I think they're going to be a little bit better ball club. They just signed their coach to an extension this week. They've scored 59 points last week against Tennessee State, I think. And I know it's just Tennessee State, but Kansas is on the rise, and I will take Kansas plus the 13.
Just let
Can't
him
agree
have
with
it,
you
Ian.
there. Yeah. Yeah, look, Kansas, I mean, Les Miles could not even make Kansas win. Kansas has not looked good since one of my hometown folks, Mark Mangino, was there and running shop. even though he obviously wasn't running on any treadmill. He did a phenomenal job with those Jayhawks on the football field between the hash marks. But since his dismissal, Kansas hasn't been able to produce. So give me
The Mountaineers.
the Mountaineers.
Laying the 13.
Yeah, give me the Mountaineers. They're at home.
I don't even
and
need to
Kansas
hear
City's got
Robert's pick, but I know what he's going to do.
It's gonna be like the first fight between Rocky and Mr. T, Clubber Lang, where it's just early and often and haymakers. All people from Kansas will be lucky if they make it out of the Appalachian Mountains this weekend. Definitely West Virginia, big.
More than 13.
Well, yeah, they're definitely going to get at least 14, but
All
it
right.
could be 21.
Well, there we have our college picks for the week. Any other games that are exciting you that are out there, or just the ones that I took? There are some good ball games out there.
USC Stanford.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Stanford.
They don't play
knocks
well
the-
on the farm. USC doesn't play well on the farm up at Stanford. But I had that one in there and took it out because I wanted to put Penn State in for Ian.
And just as a weird game, just to say something about App State at Texas A&M. People don't get a clue about Texas or App State. People keep scheduling. I'm not saying they're going to win, but it should be a fun game.
And for my main man at the bar, Sean, we're going to take the Georgia Southern getting 23.5 at Nebraska. I'll take my Eagles in 23.5 anytime. Not on the list, but got to give props to my Eagles.
No reason to take anything from Nebraska right now.
Absolutely. All right. Speaking of taking things, we need people that can take items from place to place. Robert, who the heck would that be?
I don't know. Actually, it was you earlier. We've got the drivers to get your stuff where it needs to be. Whether your passport is still on the dresser, your 7-iron isn't in the bag, or you have a dog that hates to fly, Bearcat Express with their live tracking capabilities is the team to turn to. We are the go-to courier in the Southeast USA. Check us out on BearcatExpress.com.
BearcatExpress.com. Thank you, Blair Cook, for being a sponsor, along with David McDonough with Modern Image. So, something else is big happening this weekend. Three Guys Who Love Sports Fantasy Football League kicks off this weekend, which means the NFL is in full tilt. Who do we got? What games are hot? We've got some games we're going to pick real quickly, but what's the big story going into the NFL this year? Is Brady going to win number 8? Will number 8 be great?
No.
No.
Will the Bucks win a ball game with the offensive line that they have?
Yes. They still have Brady, so they'll win a ball game.
Yeah. A lot of stuff happening this week. Trubisky won the starting job over Kenny Pickett. I think that's probably the right call for right now, but I don't know that it's the right call long term.
And it won't be. Tomlin's just easing his rookie into it. He's definitely never fallen in love with Trubisky.
No.
Nor have the fans.
Yeah, nor did they in Chicago as well either.
One thing you got to like about Tomlin, I don't know, I won't name any other coaches' names because I have no idea really what I'm talking about, but I'm going to say some NFL coaches would start Pickett over Trubisky because they think it's what they should do. He doesn't care what everybody else thinks, and that's why he's going to ease his rookie in. I think it's going to make good sense.
Put him in now and let him get the experience. The other coaches.
He'll put him in week 4, and he's still getting experience. He just doesn't have that first day.
Yeah.
Yeah, now Trubisky might be the starter for week 1, but come week 18, I think we're going to see Kenny Pickett getting that rock and getting the starting call.
Absolutely.
But that's the beauty of it, and that's why Pittsburgh has been such a successful franchise, because they do not make those pressured decisions to put people into bad situations. When Big Ben got his break, is because Tommy Maddox had to take a break. He literally got knocked out of the game, and Big Ben went undefeated for the duration of his rookie year. The only game he lost was that week when he had to come into the game. So, give it to Tomlin, give it to Pittsburgh. I love Trubisky coming in, and I think he was a great pickup without knowing the quarterback situation after Big Ben's retirement. However, Trubisky is a long-term starter, is not the solution, and I think Trubisky will be in Pittsburgh long-term. Just long term as a backup.
Long-term backup. Let me show you guys this list. Now you're talking about what's going on in the NFL Week 1. Everybody has a different power ranking. So I had this power ranking sent to me today. This is Week 1 power rankings according to senior NFL writer Pete Prisco. Thank you, Brian Purcell, for sharing this with me earlier today. Look at this list, guys. What jumps off that list to you?
That the Falcons are at number 32.
Falcons are the worst team. That's not that out of what everybody else thinks. Look at the number 6 team on this list.
The Saints.
The Saints? How are the Saints number 6? What happened in New Orleans over the last 2 years to make me think that they're better than the Bucks, the Chargers, the Niners, the Colts, the Vikings? It just doesn't make any sense.
I'll tell you what those power rankings mean to me. Squat.
Correct.
They're just like the preseason college polls. They mean nothing. They're one person's opinion. Our opinions are just as valuable as whoever that guy is. He might make more money, but he's no more knowledgeable than us.
Not much more, Chuck.
Yeah, not much more, but not as knowledgeable as us. So we're going to speed through our pro picks. We've got 7 pro games too, and then we'll speed through these, and then we'll talk a little bit about the games. Robert, Buffalo -2.5 at the Rams.
Buffalo's a huge favorite of mine. They're going against the Super Bowl defending champions. Because Buffalo's everybody's sweetheart, they're actually a 2.5-point favorite, 3,000 miles from home. That makes me kind of want to go Rams in this game, but I'm going Bills.
I'm going Bills as well. I think the Bills, as I've said before numerous times, I think they're the Super Bowl champs this year, and you got to win game 1 if you're going to get there. So
technically, you do not have to win.
You
game
do not,
1.
but this is an important game because it's somebody that they may play later on in the year in a more important game.
That's correct.
So I'll take the Bills laying the 2.5.
This matchup I think is going to be the best matchup of the weekend. I mean,
and it's a Thursday night game too.
Yeah, it is the kickoff game. We are on football eve this evening. I do like the Rams at home. The Bills are my AFC pick. I love the Bills to win. In fact, I think this matchup is really, truly the Super Bowl that we all should have gotten last year. However, Patrick Mahomes wasn't going to have that. So
that
13 seconds, as
that's
I remember.
That's still the best college, best pro football game I've seen in years.
But it was like a college game the way they scored.
It
back
was.
And forth.
It was awesome. It was an awesome game. Kansas City and Pitts. And
so
the
2
Buffalo.
Bills and a Ram.
2 Bills. You taking the Rams?
Yeah, give me the Rams. I'm going to take the Rams in the upset.
Okay.
At home.
Green Bay
Super
minus
Bowl champions at home, Week 1 upset. It just doesn't sound.
I know it doesn't sound right, but give me them with the banner presentation.
All right, Green Bay minus 1.5 at Minnesota. Do you believe in Aaron Rodgers?
I believe in Aaron Rodgers, and I do like his new additions, and I know that the departure of
Devontae
Adams is a big loss. However, Aaron Rodgers, he has been able to show up consistently every single year, almost every single game. He's very conservative with the ball. However, though, with Minnesota's looking good, and they're on the up and up, and they are a dark horse pick to win the NFC North. So give me the Vikings this weekend.
Wow. Well, I think that Aaron Rodgers will complete enough passes to Alan Lazard and Randall Cobbs and Dubs, the new guy. Somebody picked him up in our fantasy league, right?
That would be me.
Way. Yeah, would that you?
That would be me.
So
I have him in every fantasy league.
I think they're going to pick up enough points to beat the Vikings this weekend. So I'll take the Packers laying the 1.5.
I'm just gonna do my best Aaron Rodgers impersonation and say RELAX. They're going to lose. He's going to tell everybody to chill out, and then he'll start throwing the ball to Bobby Tunyon, and whoever else.
Hey, that's what happened last year when they lost at Tampa Bay, right?
That is
Opening
correct.
game last year, they
That is
lost.
correct.
Green Bay lost at Tampa. So yeah, we'll see. So you're taking the Vikings,
Taking the Vikings.
2 Vikings and a Packer. Sounds like a moving company. No. Game number 3. And my phone just went blinky on me. Let me see who that is. It is San Francisco laying 7 at Chicago.
Trey Lance, first game ever. I was watching a show earlier today on ESPN, and they were like, this guy could be QB1, or he could be replaced by week 8. And that's the way it is in the NFL. That's why we love the NFL so much, because we really don't know if this guy's going to succeed or not. But he's going to succeed in Chicago. I think Shanahan's going to have this game called well, whether it's Mitchell, Samuel, or Trey Lance. I think it'll be early and often with the Niners.
I think Deebo Samuel is probably one of the most talented players in the league. I mean, he can do so much with and without the ball. He'll move. He'll take defenses away, just to waste the fact that he's on the field. But I also believe in, I can't believe I'm saying this, Chicago's defense with that guy from Georgia. And I think they will play well enough to keep this within 7.
Are you talking about the guy from Georgia who said he didn't want to play for them anymore?
But he signed and he's going to play this year, and so he wants to play.
Just saying.
He's going to play. I know. Chicago also said this week they're going to build a Superdome in Chicago, which I hate. I hate dome football, but in Chicago, come on. So I'll take Chicago plus the 7.
You know, I think San Francisco is going to pull this one out, but I do not think they are going to cover that spread. I do like Chicago at home, but I just do not believe that they're going to have enough in the tank to get the W at the end of the day. So give me the Niners in Chicago at Soldier Field.
Laying the 7, huh?
But they're not covering.
But he's not covering.
But they're not covering. So you're saying to me, same
a-
thing, yeah.
Only he's saying Niners will win.
I'm saying Niners will win, too.
Okay, so
I
both
just
of-
think Chicago's.
Everybody thinks the
I
Niners
just
will
they'll keep
win.
it within 7. All right, number 4 game. Matt Ryan and the Colts going down to Houston.
Hand off left, hand
off.
off right.
Jonathan Taylor 6. Jonathan Taylor 6. Jonathan Taylor 6. Jonathan Taylor 6. Indy in a landslide.
I'm a huge Falcons fan. I love this for Matt Ryan. He's one of the best quarterbacks over the last 20 years because the defense collapsed on him in that game. He's never gotten his just due. Now, all of a sudden, he's got the best running back of his career and best line of his entire career, and probably one of the best defenses of his entire career. So, yes, I will definitely go early and often with Indy. But keep in mind one thing. Houston is going to be behind in every game. Here's your fantasy nugget for the day. Mark this one down. Mills, the quarterback for Houston. The guy's going to
Stanford boy, right?
He's going to throw it 50 times every day. So if you're looking for somebody to pick up on your roster, he's your guy. He may not win you many games, but he's going to throw the ball a lot.
Hopefully to his team, but we'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Indy in this matchup. I think the Colts are they're a lock for the AFC South this year. I think they're going to get it over on the Titans this year, and they're finally going to be able to bring home that AFC South championship this year. So give me the Indy, and it starts this weekend, here in Houston in that divisional matchup.
And I'll take the Colts losing to the Bills in the AFC Championship. So I like the Colts. I think there's a chance. Kansas City laying 6 at Arizona.
Who's got home field advantage in that game?
Ooh, that's a good call.
Because Buffalo at Indy, I think actually favors Buffalo because it's inside. It's no elements. You get Matt Ryan, who's from Boston, and a great running game up there in the on the shores of Lake Erie. That could be a tough game.
It could be. I don't know. I'd probably say Buffalo has the upper edge, but it'd be better for them to be in Indy.
I think it would.
Yep.
I agree.
All right.
Also, Indy would not have the all-white uniforms in the snow in Buffalo. So, Josh Allen will have full range on his defense.
All right, Kansas City at the Cardinals. I got to go with Patrick Mahomes and my Chiefs because he's my quarterback in my fantasy football league. Enough said.
So basically, Chuck just said, I gave this game no thought. They left me Patrick Mahomes during my fantasy draft, so now I am by default going to pick him every week.
I wouldn't say every week, but this week, yes.
I did put $100 on Kyler Murray to win the Super Bowl, so I'm going Kyler Murray in week 1. At the end of the day, everybody expects it out of Kansas City. It's a road game. Who knows, because nobody's really practicing anymore. There's going to be a lot of injuries in these first couple of weeks. Mark my words on that. My question for you guys is, how many targets does Kelsey get this game?
More
20?
than normal.
I mean, if he's usually getting 12 or 14 and Tyreek's are all gone, I don't know. I think he could have some really stupid numbers this year where he has 200.
But he still has Scanling. He still has Hardeman.
Still has Scanling. He's never had Scanling.
Well, he's
and they
got
have the-
Scanling now.
He has them now.
He
but
still
that's-
has them.
Now he has Juju. That's
And
who he
Juju
does have.
Schuster, yeah.
He's got a bunch of people who he's never thrown to, and then he's got this one brick house running right up the middle who catches everything. But we'll see what happens.
And Cloud Hilaire.
If
I
he
think
plays.
Kansas City is still going to run the ball. They're still going to score a lot of points.
I like Kansas City in this matchup, especially against Arizona. Even though it's at Arizona, but Kansas City and the Chargers are going to come down to the wire to win that AFC West. And this weekend, I really do like the Chiefs over the Cardinals. So give me the Chiefs and the points.
Russell Wilson going home to Seattle, laying 6.5.
Well, and I was going to say, you just said that it's going to come all the way down to Kansas City and the Chargers to decide that division. How about Denver? Did they get any love from you? Is there any chance that Denver can make it a 3-team race in that division?
You know, there's a chance. I think they're going to crack 500, and there's a good chance that they could contend for a wild card spot. But actual divisional chance, I don't think that they have a snowball from a Rocky Mountain high coming down into the playoffs. But I do like Denver in this matchup because when you put Geno Smith as your quarterback, as your number one guy,
It's kind of like Trubisky. Oh, if Geno could only be playing Trubisky in week 1, we could have had a really good conversation on that.
And your call.
My call, I'm taking Denver. I don't think he's got wide receivers. I think we're going to find out about Judy and Sutton, but I think the running backs up there are possibly second to none as far as a two-man platoon. But, yeah,
So you
Denver
take
big.
All right, Denver big. Last game, and we got a rush. New Orleans and Atlanta. New Orleans laying 6.5 at Atlanta. Who you got?
Give me the Saints. The Saints are good. The Saints defense is going to put up more points than the Falcons offense.
There's a decent chance. I'm going Saints just so I can be happy with either winning this game or losing this game, and technically winning.
And I'll go with the Falcons because I think they're going to be a lot better than people give them credit for. They're not the 32nd worst team in the league. So we will see how that goes. But I will take that. One other game I want to touch on real quick. Who do the Bucs play? They play at Dallas, right? Who you got, Brent? Tom Terrific over the Cowboys.
He's gonna play at least 4 games before he retires.
4 games before he retires. So that's cool. So we got to get out of here. It's we're on the top of the hour, but what a great show, guys. We'll see how our picks do next week. Ian, thanks for being with us again today.
My pleasure.
Robert, always a pleasure, buddy.
Always a pleasure.
And guys, as you know, look at your numbers, cover your ass, get your prostate checked. We'll see you next week on Three Guys Who Love Sports.
Have a good day.